Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to the Not SRS show. We're going to try to not send this thing off the rails and go 3 hours. I'm your host, Pawlowski, or if you can see below me on the YouTube, nobody, because we didn't actually have a banner set up for when me and Robert do this without Sean. Robert Defelice is with me, and we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite tonight. Robert, how are you?
Doing all right. We're nobody here without Sean, Alex.
That's right.
But Sean had to go see Dr. Isaac Yankum, so I'm here filling in for Sean Ross Sapp. How we doing?
We're doing all right. AEW can never put together an overall bad show. Like if there's something that is against your tastes, and Lord knows there were two things that were against my taste tonight, everything else was perfectly suited to my tastes. So how bad could it be? That's what I love about AEW is that they're never gonna have a whole bunch of misses in a row. So please, everybody, get in your Humper Chats at humperchats.com or your Super Chats at the bottom of this here YouTube chat. And you can go to humperchats.com because that gets a little sweeter piece of the pie. But Super Chats are always good too. We'll read them on the air.
Let's be honest, it's Hump Day. We don't want your Super Chats. We want the Humper Chats, okay? It's Hump Day. We will accept nothing else.
That's true. This was a very solid show, all in all. And let's just get right into it because let's honor Sean Ross Sapp, who got a tooth pulled today, is in recovery. His mouth is probably drooling everywhere because of the Novocaine. That's a good picture put in everybody's head. But to honor Sean Ross Sapp, let's try and go a tight 45 minutes tonight on this post show. Okay, Robert? So we're just gonna get right
fully
into
expect
it.
to go 90. Let's go.
let's do it. So we started out with a pretty awesome banger of a 6-man tag. We got what they're called the Undisputed Originals, or is that what they're calling themselves, like, for officially, or is that
they're just going with that? They do have the Paragon trademark. I'd prefer Paragon to Undisputed Originals because that just sounds like what we're trying to say. It's like when they call the NWO the band in Impact, and you're just like, yeah, don't be the band, be something new.
Yeah. I thought this was excellent. Them versus Hangman and Jurassic Express, and holy hell, are everybody involved in this match over? Like, yeah. Adam Cole with Red Dragon, huge pop for the heels coming out, and then mega pop for Jurassic Express, especially Jungle Boy, and then Hangman. Like, if there was ever any doubt of whether this guy was going to get over as the true ace champion of this promotion, those doubts have been erased, I think, for good.
Yeah, Hangman's like Surfer Sting for them. Like he might not be the top guy for other people, but he's so over with that crowd. And Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, of course. And as you guys all know, I think the Undisputed Era were the 3 best wrestlers in the world. So this was absolutely a banger, and no better way to start a show, really.
Yeah. There were a bunch of crazy high spots. There was at one point Hangman, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus all did a moonsault at the exact same time off of one ring post. Well, Luchasaurus was on the apron right by the ring post, but 2 to the outside, 1 to the inside. Perfect timing. Looked beautiful. And then they've been doing the Doomsday Express, Jurassic Express. I call them Lucha Express. I call them Jungle Express. I always forget they are Jurassic Express.
It works.
But they have been doing a Doomsday device recently. So they were like, hey, why not? It's a 6-man tag. Let's do a double Doomsday device. And that was crazy. I had never seen either of those spots before. The triple moonsault all at once and the double Doomsday device was pretty amazing. And the fact of the matter was that, like, they knew going in that the team that did those crazy spots wasn't going to pick up the victory. But they were like, you know what? Let's do them anyway, like halfway through the match, and then we'll build to the heels winning afterwards. I thought it was really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, The double doomsday device is fantastic. It's a little too, I would understand if somebody says that's a little too choreographed for me. Yeah, but when it looks so cool, how are you really going to complain? And then Jungle Boy does, for my money, the best Canadian destroyer in the game right now. And he jumps perfectly over, I think it was Bobby, and Adam just super kicks him with perfect timing. You would think they've done this a million times.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to watch masters at what they do. And then, of course, at the end of it, Adam pins Jungle Boy, which is fine because he's done it before. And now this puts everybody right back in line for a title shot.
Yeah, I think that Red Dragon was probably going to be the one to get the next one-on-one title match versus Jurassic Express. Personally, I would just have Red Dragon and the Young Bucks feud, but I know they're not ready to do that yet because I feel like they're waiting for that big feud to happen when Kenny comes back. And if he's not available, they're going to put that on the back burner for a while. I would personally like neither the Young Bucks nor Undisputed Originals to Red Dragon to be the next tag champs. I would kind of like Santana and Ortiz to get that nod. They've been waiting long enough, and you can do a really long Young Bucks versus Red Dragon thing without the titles being attached. But it feels like they are probably going to get the next one-on-one or two-on-two match for the titles. And then looks like they're just keeping Adam Cole hanging around until Battle of the Belts. Like it feels like he's going to get another match and lose that one as well.
He should, but it's weird because they've never done this before. Like nobody in this company has ever gotten a rematch. Jericho didn't get a rematch.
Yeah.
Mox doesn't. Well, Mox did, but it was a barbed wire. That was a little more special.
Yeah.
And they don't usually do that. With Adam, if he just gets another one-on-one and loses, what does he do?
Mox even he lost his title to Kenny Omega via cheating and then got a rematch to get his title back. Adam Cole was the challenger, lost to Adam Page, just lost straight up. I don't know why he gets a rematch. It's a kind of a weird thing to do.
Well, William Regal is there. Maybe that's that little NXT influence. I can't think of anything else.
Maybe it is. Chris Ray sent in a Upper Chat saying, "Don't think I have ever seen a triple moonsault before." I certainly had it. Not in the way they did it. That was really special.
Yeah, I mean, when if you're gonna go out there and start a show that you know is gonna end with the banger that it ended on, you got to try to set yourself apart. And luckily, all 6 of those dudes know how to do it.
Yeah. We got a Team Taz and Keith Lee promo backstage where they're slow playing this a bit. Like on Rampage last week, they came down and tried to take out Keith Lee, and I guess were successful. I mean, Will Hobbs hit an amazing spinebuster on Keith Lee, and then they had a promo where everyone was kind of like cooler heads prevailing backstage, where hey, you can't come on my show, Rampage, says Ricky Starks. If you have this match against Max Caster on Rampage, then me and Will Hobbs are going to beat you up again. And that to me just feels like you're telling the same story twice. Like I just, let's get to the point where Keith Lee and Will Hobbs have a match, or Keith Lee versus Ricky Starks have a match. Like
maybe they're saving that for Battle of the Belts, like FTW title kind of thing. I don't know.
Could be.
It's this is another one of those. It feels like you're spinning your wheels for no reason other than to say, but it's a good show, and they are, so they get away with it.
Yeah, and then there was another promo backstage later in the night where Max Caster and Anthony Bowens cut a promo on Keith Lee to the camera, in which Anthony Bowens said Keith Lee had a Cleveland Junior looking ass, which is
good.
Which is eerily accurate. Like if you drew a jawline beard on Cleveland Junior, he would have the exact same body type as Keith Lee. I don't think he could beal anybody that far, but it's pretty accurate. And then Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs showed up and were like, "You guys should totally kick Keith Lee's ass on Friday," basically. And then Swerve showed up and he was like, "Hey, Ricky Starks, why don't you have a problem with Keith Lee going on your show on Rampage? But I went on your show on Rampage. I was in the main event. You have a problem with me? Oh, that's right. You're in Swerve's house. Whose house? Swerve's house. The whose house? Swerve's house chant is going to be a crazy call and response thing. Like when he does that one time in the middle of the ring in front of 10,000 people and they all do Swerve's house together, that moment, can't wait for that.
That's when you make him a champion. That's when you put a title on him, because he does elicit such a great response that realistically, this was like a pre-tape and it's still perfectly like you never would have guessed.
Yeah.
And this is fine too. I want to see them on the main show, especially not on an 11:30 p.m. AEW Rampage. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. The bad one, Jam Beard, says, I now want a tag match of Team Taz versus Swerve and Keith Lee. Who doesn't? Who would say no to Swerve and Keith Lee teaming versus Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs? Like you could give me 25 minutes of that and I would not miss a second of it.
Yeah, I mean, they know how good they are, and I think their former employers knew how good they were to a point, because they were all put in great positions at one point. So yeah, this is a match that you're going to want to see at some point.
Yeah. There was a silent backstage artistic little vignette of Chris Statlander wiping off her alien makeup around her eye and then taking out her weird contact lens. And I'm like,
she's assimilating, Alex.
She is assimilating. She's learning how to blend in among our species, I think. I'm here for whatever this forebodes. Like this could be really interesting if we get Statlander more serious side, because the thing about it is like I think Statlander's amazing, but the gimmick is hokey, like at best. Like
the gimmick doesn't need to exist. They tried it. They did it. I think it was still the Nightmare Collective.
Yeah.
When she first was around.
Yeah.
You don't really need it. Best Friends is over bloated, and they need to kind of cut back.
They're looking like they might lose somebody else.
Yeah, they might actually
in the next. Yeah.
Like Statlander, she's not Danhausen. Danhausen never needs to change. Cassidy probably never needs to change. Statlander can become something great if she does drop the gimmick, which it looks like she's going to.
Yeah. So speaking of best friends, we got Danielson and Moxley versus Wheeler Yuta and Chuck Taylor. Now, the thing to note about this is that William Regal is on commentary, hopefully for the first of many, many hundreds of times, because he is so great. He refers to Mr. Schiavone, Mr. Ross, and then when he talks to Excalibur, he calls him the man with the mask. Like it's just so beautiful and just elegant the way he says it. But he's talking about his boys, Danielson and Mox, and then the best friends enter. And then he's talking about Taylor and Yuta. Says, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Yuta, and who is the demon waif? and he's tell me, pray. He says, pray tell, man with the mask, who is the demon waif? And of course, he's talking about Danhausen. And now Danhausen needs a demon waif shirt. It just has to be done. Like I'd buy one. Yeah, that's a great idea. Oh God, it's so good.
Regal. If Regal was in his prime as a wrestler, he would have had the most fun in the ring with Danhausen. Regal understands an act, and he's going to add so much more to this as they go. Because I can only assume this will be the first of many, because it definitely doesn't look like their story is over. And Danhausen being called the demon waif. Regal's fantastic. He also said, Mr. Ross, a pleasure to see you, never a chore. And the way he speaks, it sounds so perfect.
It's just great. There's also at one point in the match, not to skip ahead, but is it Yuta or Chuck Taylor on the outside? But Mox just bites him on the nose, and then you hear William Regal very matter-of-factly on commentary say, well, if you bite a man's nose off, you'll do whatever you wish. And I'm like, that's actually very handy advice for life. If you ever need a man to do what you wish, bite his nose off. He'll probably be a lot more receptive to your suggestions. This was all just really fun because Wheeler Yuta like stuck up for himself a lot in the match. He was being toyed with a little bit by Danielson. Taylor was game as well. Everybody looked really good in this thing, but I loved Wheeler Yuta taking the kicks and being like, "Come on, give me more." And Danielson be like, "Okay, kid," because I was at about a 7. Here's a 9.5. Like it was like there's just a really cool a vibe about the guys who stand up to Danielson, and Danielson were like, "I was going easy on you, but okay." Like I thought this was great.
And it was a cool way to do what Danielson already did with Moriarty and Garcia, and then you flip it and you have it in a tag match where Yuta can say, "Oh, I actually like what's happening here, and I think I get what they're saying when they say this is a little too much hokey pokey, and I don't want to be near that. I want to be with these wrestlers." Because even though he stuck up for himself, Danielson got him down, stomped his head in, casually tagged in John Moxley, who casually puts in the bulldog choke, and Wheeler fades out. But not before, getting praised by William Regal. And they really made it clear he's a great wrestler. He's just around a lot of something else.
Well, that's the other thing is that I think the first person that that Danielson brought up when he was recruiting Mox was Wheeler Yuta. Now, it was because Mox had just beaten Wheeler Yuta in a singles match, but he was like, "We got Wheeler Yuta out here. He's a great wrestler, but he's hanging out with these idiots, the best friends." And so Wheeler Yuta, I love the finish, which Danielson gets him in the position to do the stomps to the face, to do his stomp his friggin' head in, and tags in Moxley, and then commences to stomping Wheeler Yuta's friggin' head in as Moxley very slowly gets into the ring, and then just puts the dude in the bulldog choke, and Wheeler Yuta has to tap out.
Yeah,
that was really good.
and
but then go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say it's perfect because you've got Moxley who's so off the wall and he's so insane, and Danielson's just gotten to the point where he's like, he's yours now. Go ahead, choke him out. And Yuta doesn't want to give up, but he doesn't do the I'm gonna pass out thing. He does actually surrender, leaving that like, okay, they are better than me. And then we see what happens afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards, everyone is walking up the ramp, and Wheeler Yuta stops and looks back at the ring where Regal has joined his two cohorts, and he walks back to the ring. Like there's this really great shot of like Danhausen and Orange Cassidy at the back of the rest of the best friends, like saying, "Come on, come with us," and him looking from the two ridiculous people ahead of him back to the ring where like these 3 murderers are waiting for him, and he walks back into the ring, gets in, and offers to shake William Regal's hand. Now, William Regal was putting over Yuta hard throughout the whole match. I thought it was really great. And Regal slaps him in the face, and Yuta spins back around and gets right up in Regal's face. But Regal says, now, my dear boy, I don't think you want to do that. You should probably leave now while you still can. As Danielson and Mox kind of flank him from both sides. So I like that they didn't immediately do the "now you're part of us," but that seems to be where they're going. I thought, honestly, that they had just forgotten about that whole, like, we want to train the younger guys thing, and it was just going to be Regal and Mox and Danielson for a while. I'm very happy to see they're still moving forward in recruiting the young grapple fuck magicians, because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And it seems, as we'll talk later in the show, they're going to have like a natural enemy in another group. But I like that Yuta is at least to the point where, hey, he may not have a Wheeler Yuta is all elite graphic yet somehow,
right?
But he does have a goal now. He wants to be accepted by these 3. And I can see this being week by week. He's just sort of like, I don't want to be around you guys. I want to be a better wrestler. I have enough friends.
Yep.
Now I want to go make money. That kind of thing.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this a lot. We got a lot of good super and humper chats about this. Chris Rain saying Regal asking about Danielson pop me like, pray tell. the man with the mask. Who is the demon waif? It's just he's just so good. Brent Lockman, I need more of Excalibur and Regal, so much more. Here's the deal. I don't think Jericho works on commentary anymore as this character. I really don't. Like, I mean, it just doesn't. He's actively hates everybody on the roster. It doesn't really work. I think it'd be kind of cool to get at least a couple of tries of Excalibur and William Regal as a 2-man booth for Rampages. I think that could work. You could let Starks and Taz go actually do other things occasionally, but I'd love to see just 1 hour of Excalibur and Regal together. I think they have a really cool chemistry.
Yeah, they're too comfortable with adding too many people to commentary desks. If you need a third, Shivani's there. You tape Rampage. Just do Excalibur, Shivani, and Regal. I think that would be great.
Yeah. Brent Lockman says the idea that AEW can put together tag programs for years and not run out of combinations is probably my favorite thing about the company. Yeah, it is true. That tag division is very, very deep.
When on the other show, the literal answer for your biggest show of the year is Randy.
Yeah.
You gotta fight somebody, and then you're doing this on Wednesday. Yeah, you can give me Wednesday night all year long, okay?
Who are we gonna fight at WrestleMania, Randy?
Randy, what are you doing?
I mean, people love the RK Bro, but that's a terrible storyline. Alfred the homie, what a show Regal was. Great on commentary. What young talent from any promotion besides Yuta, Garcia, and Moriarty would you like to see join these 3 extremely violent gentlemen? Do you think Callis is behind bringing in Red Dragon to split the Bucks and Cole potentially? I don't know. I feel like Kenny is poised when he comes back to be a babyface. He's going to get ridiculously cheered when he does. So I think one of the things he might do is kick Don Callis to the curb in public. Like, I think that could be a really great way of cementing that.
Yeah, it's almost like when Punk separated himself from Heyman in 2013, where it was like, no, we're still friends, but I don't need you anymore. And then Callis can do whatever swerve it is. I don't think you need to align him with the Undisputed Era. I hope not. They're too good for that.
Yeah. Luis says they should bring in Shooter Umino.
Oh my God, yeah. I think we're overdue for that.
If they can figure out a way to release Mustafa Ali from his contract, now I want to see him as a babyface, but the other thing about him is that he is an absolute technical wizard, and anybody who only knows him from his high flying stuff, that guy's amazing. Like the stuff that he puts together, that he just releases in 30-second clips on his Twitter. He's an amazing, like the transitions, all the really interesting takes on submission holds. He'd fit in really well with a bunch of grappling dudes too. So I always want my boy Mustafa Ali to get some more stuff, but if they can ever figure out a way to release a guy who doesn't want to be there, who they don't want to use, maybe he could show up in AEW and do that.
You know, I know we're thinking more young, but Timothy Thatcher is available.
No. Yeah.
I think that needs to happen. Ono is available. Chris Hero is available. Cesaro.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, if you need to round out some more of the veteran side of things. And on the female side, you got Nicole Savoy, who I think should have been signed by a company years and years and years ago. I think Nicole Savoy could be a great addition here.
That's true. Bad One Jam Beard says, down the line, I want a blood and guts match of Regal's Wrestlers Dojo versus Team Yaz.
Yeah,
but Entertainer. It would be the best of polar opposites. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd like to see them do something because I think they're too polar opposite to not do something at some point.
Yeah.
But kind of last year, they kind of crapped the bed on the faction warfare. So I'd rather not see that for a little bit.
Yeah. The Nerd Guru says, really need to see Regal and Cole and Red Dragon confront each other because AEW knows we aren't dumb. Regardless of face heel, they should be friends. Now, I disagree because if you're going by, like, they know each other, obviously, but Undisputed Era was constantly a thorn in Regal's side. Regal should hate those dudes so much. Whenever he sees them, it should be on sight.
Yeah, at the very least, I'd like to see something probably from Kyle because he's a bit more of the fun-loving one, where he goes to Regal and he goes, "So about that tag title match, can you hook us up?" And Regal's just like, "What do you want me to do?"
That's not my position here, dear boy. Dan Jonoff says, "Was such a pleasure hearing Regal on commentary. It really, really was." But here's something also. Just not the match was really good, but with that moment where Wheeler Yuta walked into the ring, put out his hand for William Regal, got slapped and got right back up in William Regal's face. That dude jumped up like 20 spots on my personal AEW big board. People also saying this. Glenny Kodra says Yuta went from a nobody to a badass to the fans tonight. It's true. Sawyer says, I'm mostly just excited for you to start getting some W's. That's true. He loses too many matches. Like, he's really, really, really great, but he does not win matches. And Brother Hero says they should treat Yuta like the recruits on Fight Club. Space monkey ready to be shot into space. Like, shave his head and make him wait outside the dojo overnight until he's allowed into the Paper Street house.
Well, I think Regal knows a thing or two about that. He was still in
However,
NXT when they did what's that called? The Mei Yang thing. What's that
yes,
called? Tiancha.
yes, that's true. That was true. But also, there's already one promotion that is borrowing heavily from Fight Club. So let's not do two. One is definitely enough.
Did you know that you're in control, Alex?
If it is your first narrative, you have to control your narrative. No, it's not. Let's not do any more of those. We got an FTR and Bucks promo backstage where the Bucks interrupt FTR being interviewed about kicking Tully to the curb. And the Bucks, was it Nick who came out wearing like a leprechaun onesie type like romper thing, and then had
Matt.
Was it Matt? And he had the chain from the ear all the way to a nose ring, and he's like, "You guys need to work on your stylist." He says that to FTR, who are just regular looking dudes. But they say, like, I don't care who you get to be your new manager. It could be the best there is, but it's still not going to protect you from the Bucks. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't notice, there were pink lights behind FTR. I don't know if that's it must have just been mood lighting for the day.
It was Nick. Who did that. But yes, no, it was that was pretty hilarious. The joke making more sense considering who said it. But Chris Rain says, if Bret Hart becomes all elite, I would lose my mind. Listen, they're doing the tournament. The Owen, it'd be kind of cool. He was like there to like just be a part of that in any way, just to like watch his brother get honored in that way. That would be pretty great, honestly.
Yeah, and if he really wanted to have one more run, I know CM Punk was overly emotional after Revolution about he felt bad about Bret not having his final run. And I think FTR being paired with Bret, it's not necessary, but it's also something that I would never turn down.
Mike Provenchar says Nick Jackson is a fashion sociopath. He truly is. He truly is. And then we got a great Statlander reference. Jonathan McPherson says Statlander's my boyfriend's favorite, but he's been screaming about her gimmick forever. He'll be so happy tomorrow. I'm really interested in this Statlander thing because she is somebody I could definitely see being somebody to take down Jade. If it's not somebody from outside the the current roster, I think the one to do it from the current roster would be Statlander. So
yeah, and I think it's time that she finds herself outside of this. I'm so happy to be a wrestler. I guess I'll be an alien because that's fun.
Yeah. Yes. We got a Jade backstage interview where they say this next one's going to be a big one. 30-0 is what Mark Sterling says. So who's it going to be? Who's going to step up? And they had been referring it to her kissing people as the kiss of death. Now it's the kiss of doom. I guess they didn't want to get sued by WWE and for copyright infringement.
It's a different KOD. It's not that one.
Yeah, not the KOD. It's not Bianca Belair's finishing move. But I've said the whole time that I feel like the person who's going to do it is probably going to be Athena. Like that's going to be your big. I would hope, because I loved Ember Moon in WWE. I would love for Athena to come in and be the surprise. I don't know if you have her beat Jade, but maybe Jade gets herself disqualified. Like it's the first time we ever see her like not just overpower somebody and just immediately she's going to win this match. Even if the match takes 8.5 minutes, she's going to beat Ty Conti. Maybe that match isn't set out that way, and maybe that's what they might do.
Yeah, I think Ember Moon needs to be signed too, because she was robbed of a great run. She got on that main roster and they just did absolutely nothing. So I'm ready to see her find her love of wrestling again and be the champion she can be.
Daniel R says that I think Deeb should beat Jade.
Heel versus heel, though.
It's an interesting. I think depending on who else they book Jade against in like the couple of matches leading up to a match with Deeb, you could convince me that because she's over, man. Like she's just, all you got to do is take her from being like super arrogant to super confident, and people will start rooting for her depending on who you're putting her up against. Her versus Nyla Rose, who's only ever been a heel to us, like you could do a thing where you could actually make us root for her to beat Nyla Rose, and then all of a sudden the next person she's facing is Serena Deeb. Now it's now those areas are more gray. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way I would go, but it's a possibility.
It definitely is. I think if she just hits Sterling with the Jaded, she's a babyface.
Yeah. Yeah. We also we got a Ishida and Deeb like a little segment backstage where Lord Jackson says Deeb and Shida are going to murder each other, and I cannot wait. Because I actually believe that Shida on Rampage vowed to decapitate Serena Deeb. Says, you want to take out my knee? That's fine. Next time I say I'm going to chop off your head. And I was like, oh, okay.
I wouldn't make those promises because you can't actually deliver. But one thing that annoyed me about this was no real commentary here, except you got Jericho's line in of "Holy Shida" when she's running down the ramp at Rampage, and it's just like, ugh. But Deeb is great. This promo is great. They can do any match. They can do a submission match. They can do Iron Man. They can do no DQ. It's going to be great however they decide to do it.
Yeah. Mark Losper calling me out, and rightfully so. Is Alex talking about Ember Moon? No way. For those of you who don't know, for the longest time, when she was on the main roster and never being used, anytime we were talking about who should face so-and-so next for the women's title, it was like, what about Ember Moon? Where does Ember Moon fit into all this? Give me Ember Moon. And they never did. And so it became a running joke. And so there you go.
It was very much the same way. Ember Moon should have been a champion on Raw or SmackDown.
A multiple-time champion. She was so fun to watch. And if you say, well, she can't cut a great promo, a lot of champs can't cut great promos. She was decent enough, and her in-ring more than made up for it. Yeah. Anyway, now we're getting into some stuff. So, we got our Jericho Appreciation Society, which the t-shirt just says JAS, which people are saying it's like jazz, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's all that jazz.
I think we should use a soft J, like Johan. So it's Yas. So every time I see the Jericho Appreciation Society, I will refer to them as Yas, because so Yas comes out, and somebody chatted me on a different show saying if they get a female in the faction, that she would be the Yas Queen, and I thought that's also a great idea.
I hope they don't do that.
They come out, and listen, objectively, I get it. This is a really great way to get them over as heels that we hate, that the AEW fans hate. And I know I'm being worked into a shoot, but this whole thing repulsed me. Like I just can't. Like now they come out to Jericho's theme still, which everyone sings along to, and like Edge's heel turn on Raw, I think is not working really well. But at least to his credit, he realized that people are always going to pop for "You think you know me" and his and Alter Bridge starting. But he was like, "No, I shouldn't get that pop. People should boo me when I come out, so I'm going to change my music to something that's not going to get that pop." But Jericho's like, "I kind of like it when they sing my song." So they come out and everyone sings the song. I'm like, no, you hate these guys. And eventually I think they're going to get wise to it, the fans, and not maybe sing along, but maybe they will. And you're going to have
I
to.
don't have any faith that they will stop singing the song. They like it too much. Yeah. It's too much a part of the experience. And honestly, halfway through this thing, they're chanting Jericho. I'm like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing.
No.
This is the opposite.
Yeah. But Matt Lee, who they change his name later, but he's the first one who comes out and says, "You guys like singing that song, huh? You guys like playing along, being a part of the show, huh? Well, let me tell you, if it were up to me, we wouldn't be playing that song. You wouldn't be able to sing it. But it's this man right here. This man right here, Chris Jericho. He loves you so much, he lets you sing his song for him. Okay? So you should be thanking this man right here. Okay?" I really enjoy Matt Lee. I think he's a perfect guy to be a Jericho henchman. Like him and his partner Parker, I think they're perfect for this thing. I think Jake Hager is perfect for this thing. I think Daniel Garcia should run as far and as fast away from this crap as possible. And I know I'm in the minority on this thing. It's a divisive subject. A lot of people are like, no, Daniel Garcia shouldn't be a part of this thing. That's where I'm at. But some people are like, I think it's perfect for him. It's going to get him on TV more, which if that's the case, great. And allow him to develop personality, which like, I feel like he kind of is already doing that without this. But what are your thoughts about, because Garcia says, we are not wrestlers. That's what Jericho says. We're not wrestlers. We are sports entertainers. And Garcia stops him and says, wait a minute. Now, you said something right there. And I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, if you're a sports entertainer, then I am too. I'm a Daniel Garcia, and I'm a sports entertainer. And everyone booed because everyone wants Daniel Garcia to be a grapple fuck madman who rips people's limbs off. They don't want him to be a sports entertainer. And I mean, I agree with those people who don't want him to be a sports entertainer. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine Vince McMahon getting like a clip of this sent to his phone and texting Jericho, "That's good shit, pal," because they're literally just using the Vince McMahonism of it all to turn everybody heel. And Garcia has to do this, and it does get him on TV. But this is so stupid. And he's going to be the first one to go.
Yeah.
He's going to say, "No, I'm a pro wrestler and I want to kick heads in." But like, whatever. Jericho's a sports entertainer. That's fine, I guess.
He's absolutely a sports entertainer. And guess what? So are Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. They're great at it. And for the most part, honestly, so's Hager. Like, I know he's got the MMA background and everything, but he's basically a sports entertainer.
You think they can get an eagle for him?
Eagly? He should come out with Eagly?
Maybe.
Yeah. Sawyer says, I thought the worst part of Yas was when Garcia, coolest of AEW's 4 young killers, joining him instead of Regal. Then tonight, they had my number. Gimmick is cringe, but to credit to them knowing how to twist the knife. Yeah, the thing of it is that if I can give, they know how to twist the knife. I don't particularly love having knives twisted in me. Like, I don't like the feeling, so I don't enjoy like that moment where like, you got me. Yes, this is very painful for me. Touche. No, like stop twisting that knife. It hurts. That's what I always say.
I think they missed the boat. I think this should have been the first thing Jericho did. He should have been the guy who goes, I'm from WWE. It feels like they're just circling back around to it because they have nothing else for Jericho to do. And now it's like, okay, do we see gang wars between them and the former LAX? Or what's the next 6 months for Jericho? Because Jericho always has these 10-month rivalries that overstay their welcome.
Yeah. Daniel R says, well, I like the swerve kind of. Why is Daniel Garcia in this group? The swerve being Garcia looking like he would argue, anytime I look up indie results, Garcia is winning. He's super over. I'm only okay with this if Jericho puts over Garcia pretty soon. I think it's a long play. I think that Yuta joins up with Danielson and Mox pretty soon. Moriarty after that, and it takes a while for whatever happens with Jericho for Garcia to turn on him and join up with the other guys. I think it might take like all summer. So get used to this kind of thing. They love to tell long storylines.
Specifically Jericho. I don't know how fast they can get more guys with Danielson and Mox, but I can see them eventually feuding with Jericho's gang and Jericho going, we're going to take you to our environment. You're going to do Stadium Stampede because that's entertainment. And then it's just like whatever you get out of that is what you get. But I think that has to be the feud building.
Yeah. I am La Lucha says 1 week Daniel Garcia is being recruited by the pro wrestling gang. Next week, he's put himself out there calling himself a sports entertainer. This feud is inevitable, and I'm here for it. Long-term booking. Yeah, I feel like we probably are going to get Regal's boys versus some version of Yas. And Josh Weaver agrees. He says, I think Garcia is the tie between Yas and Regal's group. Maybe Daniel Garcia turns on Jericho during Blood and Guts.
Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe. I'm not sure. We get now here's the thing. Here we go. There was a moment where he said why all these people love me. He says that the reason why Matt Lee and Jeff Parker love me is because my old friend Kevin, my old former best friend Kevin, called me up and said, these two guys got fired and they need a job. And I was the one who brought them into AEW. Now, I like the backstory there, but then he's like, in Yas, in Jericho Appreciation Society, we don't use fake names from Bad Creative. We only use our real names. So Matt Lee is now Matt Menard, or whatever it is.
The Daddy Magic Matt Menard.
Matt Menard.
You gotta get it right. Daddy Magic.
And
Matt
Jeff
Menard.
Parker is now Cool Hand Ange, Angelo Parker. And Jake Hager's Jake Hager. Daniel Garcia is Daniel Garcia. And I am using my also totally real name, Chris Jericho. Sure, Chris Irvine. That's yes. Let's only use our real names. Hilarious.
Perfect.
Hilarious.
It's like naming them Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Fine. Like if you were gonna do that, they didn't need to come in as Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. I don't know if Jeff versus Angelo is that big of a change, but the backstories at least make sense.
Yeah. Nerd Guru says that Kevin Owens is a damn gem for this. I do not doubt that he actually made that call.
No, that's actually real. They told that story on Talk is Jericho that he never knew them before. Owens called them, said, hey, at least put them on the podcast. And he did, and they had a job immediately.
Perfect. Now, Jericho talks about how Sammy Guevara turned his back on me. St. Henderson He's disrespected me. They want to go off with their little buddy Eddie Kingston. That's fine. But Jake Hager, whatever. Jake Hager's whatever. But he says the reason that Daniel Garcia respects me is because because on January 6th, he says, and there was too long of a pause before he said 2019. Jericho being like, the reason everybody loves me is that on January 6th, wait a minute, what happened? Hold the phone. Wait a minute. But he says on January 6th, 2019, a bunch of indie wrestlers in Buffalo were in a car accident. One of them was Daniel Garcia, and I donated a bunch of money for their recovery. And that's a really awesome thing that Jericho did. That's a really awesome connection he has to Daniel Garcia in real life. And yet we're getting a lot of jokes about the January 6th.
I like that he's just like, my contributions, my charitable efforts on January 6th. Like, okay,
So,
where are we going here?
So, Kevin Street saying, Jericho donated to something on January 6th. Nerd Guru was saying that January 6th line was almost horrific. And Zach says, Jericho saying January 6th momentary made me nervous because, Jericho. And then he said 2019 and I was relieved. And he says, thanks, guys. Hopes all is well. Looking forward to seeing that Robert smile again. There you go. Everybody loves it.
No, but I mean, really, smile. I do think Jericho has learned from the no longer with AEW Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Let's maybe not go there. Not.
Dallas Robinette says Jericho was giving off Reigns vibes. Appreciate me.
Not as good, but
not quite as good. I like this suggestion. The Bad One Jam Beard says that Yas's new theme should be a Fozzy cover of Break the Walls Down. That way they can really lean into the sports entertainer thing even more. Like this is something that that I would have done back then. Alan Marks saying that it's almost like a 12-stack program. My name is Jake Hager, and I am a sports entertainer. Jake Hager looked so uncomfortable. Also, listen, it's not his fault. Obviously, I'm not making fun of the guy for having a lisp, but you put a mic in his hand and say, "We are the JAS." Like it. Don't give him the words that he's going to say that bring out the lisp, because I saw
I think they're just leaning into it. I think they're just
maybe they are. But
let's I saw
some people
all the way there,
really making fun of it, and I'm like, come on, like you can do it without giving him those lines. I think, although society would not have been much better.
Now,
saying society with his list would have been bad.
I wonder if they're gonna make Jake start saying "We the People" again, just because that's entertainment, right? Like that's the whole thing. That's entertainment.
That's entertainment. Jake Hager, by the way, looked full on like a member of the Mean Street Posse tonight, with his little striped sweater. I thought that was great. Jericho says he's a sports entertainer. That should set up a Bryan and Mox match. I know they're heels, but they're wrestlers who love wrestling. CM Punk should as well. Also, CM Punk versus Garcia. All those things. Yeah.
I can see this getting Punk and Jericho back around, because really, there are two guys that don't need to fight again. But if you're going to have them fight, I can see Punk going, sports entertainment sucks. And I'm glad I left there. And if you want to do that, then I'll just kick your ass here.
Yeah. Sawyer saying Jericho playing sports entertainer in AEW is nowhere as funny or brilliant as Cardona in JCW. Hashtag my champ. So Mike Preventure saying, now we know what Jericho did on January 6th. 2019.
Yeah.
Do we know what his wife did? We do not. That's not a thing that we're able to talk about on this particular show. So Brennan Tungate said, I think 2.0 changed their names as a rib on WWE never letting people have the same name. Matt and Jeff are here, so change 2.0's names. I think they could have leaned more into like the real Matt and Jeff is this Matt and Jeff. You want a taste? Like we need to get a Matt and Jeff versus.
Yeah,
Matt
we should have gotten that promo. I didn't even put that together. We should have gotten that.
We should have gotten a Matt and Jeff versus Matt and Jeff match for custody of the names, and then have them lose to the Hardys and have them have to pick out new names. I mean, we could do that. It could be.
You know what, Alex?
What's more sports entertainment than two first names on a pole match? Come on.
Like just big lettering that you printed out.
Yep.
That. I like it. That's entertainment, Alex.
Yeah. So Tom LaValle says, love the heck out of the Yas promo. Magic Matt starts off, Cool Hand Angelo on next. And they went on to say everything Alex would always hate. It's true. This faction was designed in a lab to give me an aneurysm personally. But like again, your mileage may vary. As Shotkid29 says, I get people's mileage will vary with Jericho's group, but I personally dig it, and it sets the ground for a feud over Garcia against Regal's Killers. Now
I like that everybody's skipping over the LAX thing that we know we're gonna get for 4 months and just going right to like, hey, what about All Out if they fight Danielson and Moxley?
It's because they kept those 3 dudes off the show to sell the beating they got last week, which fair play, but because they were like out of sight, out of mind, right before this, we got the tease of Yuta joining up with Moxley and Regal and Danielson. So immediately we think, that's the reason. It's because of all that, which I totally get. But you're right. We're definitely getting the LAX feud first.
Yeah.
Jonathan McPherson says Alex will hate me, which I love starting out a super chat with Alex will hate me. But I love Garcia in this spot. It's here's exactly what you don't want to build the here's exactly what you do want, which is him beating Jericho and just being a great wrestler. I think eventually we get that. I just feel like it's going to take a lot longer than everybody thinks it's going to take.
Yeah, I mean, like we haven't even gotten Sammy beating Jericho or anything like that yet.
Yeah, that's true. JW Pringle says Jericho becoming a sports entertainer is a chef's kiss. How do you become a real heel in AEW? Embrace the WWE mentality. Damn, he got me again. Like that's a perfectly healthy reaction to being to this particular thing. Meanwhile, I was just sitting at home on my couch, just go Jericho, which is not healthy. But I own it. And I own it.
Like it might be good for like a month. My worry is that they just run into the ground and suddenly we've got Vince Russo on Dynamite because that's entertaining. Like I just feel like they're going to run it into the ground so fast that we won't even be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. That's Shotkid29 says that the Jericho Appreciation Society goes into blood and guts. Who stands opposite? New LAX under Kingston or Regal's wrestlers? Brent Lockman has an idea. Eddie, P&P, Proud and Powerful, Mox, Danielson versus Yas. Just to hear Regal scream, blood and guts.
Oh, we're getting that. I mean, that's just something they need to do. I think Cesaro's going to end up in that group. I think he's waiting, but I think he'll end up in that group.
Yes, agreed. And Shazam says, sorry if I missed the section. You did not. We've been talking about this for the last 15 minutes at least. Garcia cementing his heelness by calling himself a sports entertainer is brilliant. It means if he ever wants to go work with Mox and Bryan, the sports entertainment versus pro wrestling story is there.
Well, I'm glad that everybody at least seems excited about it. We've definitely gotten enough comments to prove that they want to see the sports entertainment versus wrestling thing. Yeah. I just don't want to see this drag on for 10 months.
Yeah. The Nerd Guru says, my word for this Yas crap is that instead of the Mox Bryan thing, there's no one more against sports entertainment. Yeah, yes. I think that we'll figure something out with this. I'm not really sure how long the because I think it may well end up being that Kingston got that victory over Jericho, and then LAX is going to wind up putting over Yas for a while, losing those matches, which I do not agree with. And that's
which does what for Santana and Ortiz? Like they need to just go, you know what? You beat us up, fine. I don't want any part of it. We're going for the titles.
Yeah, they should. Rangers Mayhem says waiting for Yas to be backstage, watching the TV off to the side like this because that's
they're absolutely
sports
going
entertainment.
To do a promo.
That is good. The bad one Jam Beard says for the Yas LAX feud, I want them to come out with the old LAX theme that Homicide and Hernandez also help back them up, and K-Dog. Well, that's a lot of people, but sure, let's.
They still don't. In there. I think Impact still owns LAX. We gotta realize who owns that.
Yeah,
and see if they can get it over to Tony.
Yeah, I had the idea for giving them their own female in the faction who could be the Yas Queen. So Brent Lockman says, so that we're saying that Toxic Attraction are joining Yas. And
Oh God, that's the merger that we didn't need.
Yeah. We got, hold on one second. Was here, the Nerd Guru says, I'm here for Alex to go off on Yas and the Wardlow stuff.
Well, the good news is he is going to do that, and you probably got a good 10 months of that.
Yeah. Alan Marks says, Alex is the new AEW booker. Confirmed. Nope. No, that's definitely not true, because I did not book this next match. I'll tell you that much. This Scorpio versus Wardlow thing did not go how I wanted. The Nerd Guru wanted to know, how did MJF get the ring? Where was Punk? This was a WWE mess, sadly. Now that's
entertainment.
Puts my thoughts in a nutshell. I thought I had come to terms with the fact over the past week, you can't have Scorpio Sky be a 1 week reign. You just can't do it. Not after all of the things that have happened over the past several months. He's the first black singles champion. He's not male singles champion. He's not going to be a 1 week reign. Wardlow's not beating him. So I came up with, I don't know, I'm not going to go into detail, but in my head, roughed out maybe 5 or 6 scenarios that would protect both him and Wardlow in this particular thing, allow MJF to get his revenge, make it make sense in some way, and not have Scorpio Sky lose the belt. I'll tell you, all the things I came up with were a lot more satisfying to me than whatever the hell they did here. Which was, the match was, when it went into commercial break in the picture-in-picture with Wardlow being, with Scorpio being in control over Wardlow. And soon after that, Wardlow was able to hit a big spine buster and transition into the Powerbomb Symphony, whereupon he was distracted by Dan Lambert on the apron. And there's your first problem. Anytime you have the babyface who's in control and about to win a singles championship that he has said, if he wins the TNT title, he's going to get a new contract with AEW. Like, not only does he become the TNT champion, but he also gets a new contract. He gets free of MJF. He gets more money, probably working for Tony Khan than he was from MJF. Like, you can't get distracted by an old man standing behind you on the apron. Just keep hitting power bombs on Scorpio until you liquefy his kidneys and then pin him. Like, there's no reason to be distracted. It makes the babyface who does that look bad in my eyes. Now, Scorpio rolls to the outside, and he's about to do a power bomb to him on the outside, on the floor. But here comes Sean Spears down the ramp with 2 chairs. And Wardlow immediately starts to walk up to the foot of the ramp, saying, "Come on, bring it." And the ref is like, "What are you doing? Get in the ring. You have a match to win." Apparently, he's the only one who thinks that, because Wardlow just standing out there, not doing anything, waiting for Sean Spears to attack him. So as he's walking back around the ring, MJF springs out of the crowd, shoves him up against the ring post. Wardlow gets back into the ring, and Scorpio Sky, who we last saw being powerbombed into oblivion, just rolls him up for the 1-2-3. And that's how Wardlow loses his TNT title match. And that's how Scorpio Sky retains. Like, Scorpio Sky barely even played a factor in his first title defense. And Wardlow gets to look like an idiot being distracted by everything. And being pushed. Wardlow, who we've seen take a lot of punishment and is this friggin' hoss, gets pushed in the ring post one time and can't fight off a roll-up. It's some WWE bullshit, at least in my eyes. We're not even talking about the post-match beatdown or whatever. Just the match itself. What were your thoughts, Rob?
I mean, you nailed it. I can't add too much to that. It really felt like a WWE segment. We didn't even talk about Paige Van Zant and her husband were there, and Wardlow stops and looks at Paige, and then suddenly her husband's like, "Wait a minute, that's my wife," and kisses her for, and he's distracted by that, and he's distracted by really everything. Like, it felt like this was Wardlow's first match ever, and he's never been around any of this. And then the roll up thing, it's just not for me. So this is easily the worst thing that they've done with Wardlow.
I think the thing that makes me upset about it is that I said this to you. I've said it to a lot of people. AEW, I have ridiculously high standards for them because they have proven themselves worthy of ridiculously high standards. Like straight up perfection is possible. We've seen it in certain, like the MJF and Punk thing, like played out to perfection. And Wardlow was a huge part of the end of that perfect final chapter. Him coming down, can't find the ring at the pay-per-view. Oops, I guess I did have it. Here you go, CM Punk. And he leaves. Like it was just perfect. And so I wanted the next chapter of the MJF and Wardlow thing to also be perfect. And to me, like it was just felt over, like we got Paige Van Sant at ringside and her husband, and that played into some of it as well. But I just felt like there were other things, because I don't understand why you introduce the angle of Wardlow works for MJF. And so in the contract, all title opportunities and title victories, like the title itself, if Wardlow were to ever win it, become MJF's property. It does not make sense to me why MJF wouldn't allow Wardlow to win the title and then take it from him, or at the very least, go back on his verbal but not handshake, nowhere written agreement. You know what? If you win the ladder match, I'll let you have the title shot. All he could say is, I lied, and it would be perfectly within MJF's character to do that. Wouldn't MJF want the title shot instead, at the very least? But also, like, you could have Spears attack Scorpio Sky, thereby protecting him, because Max wants Wardlow to be champion so he can take the title from him. Like, all of these things to me felt like better options than just attack the dude at ringside, cost him the match, and then beat him up afterwards, which is what they did. And I think that Sky needed to be a champion for longer than a week, which is why I feel like it was a bad timing to put the title on Sky last week, so that at least you could have had Wardlow beat Sammy tonight, and then Scorpio Sky could have been the next TNT champion after beating MJF or something. I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me.
And I'll even go back to last week and say, I didn't like that all of a sudden Wardlow's just like, hey, Max, I'm done with you, and the Pinnacle's just done. FTR was just done with Tully. Like, it just seemed like they said, hey, that was cool for like a minute. Let's just kill all that now. Let's go this direction. It just feels very disjointed, which isn't like them.
Yeah, it's true. Daniel R says, why wouldn't MJF want Wardlow to win so he could take the belt from him, as per the contract that they brought up on television? We see, hold on. Brent Lockman says, I did like that they were telling the story that Wardlow has no allies, because why would he? He does have an ally. The name is CM Punk. CM Punk is an ally. Like, I mean, maybe he's not there tonight, but he does have an ally. He helped CM Punk beat MJF. Like, that was, I don't know. I don't necessarily want CM Punk to come down there, because that would be more kerfuffle that we might not have needed. Eloquent makes the point that he was punched with the diamond ring in the back of the head, which sent him into the ring post, which I guess I must have missed, but I did not miss that MJF has the ring back. And to me, like, Excalibur explained that CM Punk left the ring, the diamond ring, in the wrestling ring after the pay-per-view match. But why? Wouldn't he want to keep it as a memento of having kicked MJF's ass? Like, there's somebody here, I like this thing. Their guru says the ring in Punk's hands should have corrupted him and turned him into the evil man he can be. Then down the line, MJF could take him out as a face. I don't know about that last part, but like, I love the idea of next time that we see CM Punk, he's still got the ring because he knows this is little spoils of war. Just leaving it there for MJF to collect felt like it was just kind of unfortunate to me.
Yeah, it really just seems like they were like, okay, let's just do the Wardlow thing and get it over with because that's just the next story we want to tell. And honestly, as much as I was looking forward to it before, this one night, I'm already kind of like, I don't know. It seems like they don't know where they're going with this. And I don't know if I want to see it play out.
Yeah. Reese Power says, what WTF was with MJF getting the ring back without any backstory. I was looking forward to Punk going full Gollum and getting corrupted by the ring. So a lot of people have this.
Yeah, I guess everybody missed when he was just like here for when he wakes up. I think that's what he did for when he wakes up and he threw it at him.
I guess. Now, Tom LaValle says it's okay for Sky to win this match in a lame way, but he needs to win strong next week. He won the title weekly too, so he needs a strong solo win. That's the thing. If he actually were to really beat Wardlow, fine. But like, he got his ass kicked for the last quarter of the match and then rolled him up. Like, it just doesn't make him look good either. After the match, Spears hits Wardlow over the head with a protected chair shot. He got his hands up. MJF punches him with a diamond ring. Vanderford, Paige Van Zant's husband, I think that's his name, he got in and was choking him out. So there was a big beatdown of Wardlow afterwards. Okay, fine. There was a moment where MJF was left alone with Wardlow, and Wardlow was going to murder him, but it didn't work out that way because he got hit in the back by a chair. I was so invested in this Wardlow MJF thing, and I'm less invested now. And I don't want that to be a thing. I want every time that we tell another chapter of this story, me to be more enthused about eventually Wardlow powerbombing MJF into the center of the earth. And now I'm less enthused. And I want to be
right,
more
because
enthused.
They had a chance to do a really cool, and he's done with him, and he power bombs him through a table or whatever. But they missed the boat there, and now they have to already recover.
Yes. It you know what, all of this just made me want to disappear. Because I was so looking forward to all of this, and it made me upset. I just wanted to go somewhere where nobody could find me. And I wanted to go somewhere where nobody knew where I was. And if you want nobody to be able to know where you are.
I'm on the road right now, but I'm not missing any of my favorite shows that are region blocked or out of my area, so to speak, because I've got nordvpn.com/Fightful. Now, you can also use that code Fightful. Avoid price discrimination on flights, avoid missing your shows because they're region blocked, and get 70% off your NordVPN plan, plus one additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. NordVPN.com/Fightful has made things so much easier for me as I get back into traveling and start to remember that certain things aren't available to watch when I travel or even when I'm home because they're region blocked. I'm able to find pay-per-views that are much cheaper thanks to NordVPN.com/Fightful. It's an investment in yourself, and how can you pass up that deal? 70% off plus one additional month free. NordVPN.com/Fightful, or use that code Fightful.
NordVPN is a really great service, guys. You should all use it. The Hound says, I'm fine with Wardlow losing for this MJF storyline, but why must we have the cringy stuff with Vanderford and Paige mixed in? Feels like it's not over between Dan Lambert's team and Wardlow right now, SMH. That's the other thing, is that it seems like not only does he hate MJF, but he also hates these other guys. And this kind of muddies the waters with the whole, can MJF just fire him and he's not part of AEW? I'm assuming AEW would just hire him immediately. But it feels like we're going to get Sammy Guevara and Wardlow teaming up to take on Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky when Wardlow should be like fully invested in kicking MJF's ass, or he goes after MJF entirely and forgets all about the fact that MJF had help from Lambert's crew. Like, it's kind of going to tear Wardlow in two directions, I feel like. And if he goes fully for one and not for the other, it feels kind of weird and unmotivated. It's weird to me.
It seems really weird to me that they're just like, no, this guy, Paige Van Zandt's husband, I don't know his name off the top of my head. He's got to get his stuff in. He's got to put Wardlow out with the rear naked choke. It's just strange that they're like intent on getting these guys in every story rather than just doing, hey, MJF fires Wardlow, and hey, buddy, there's a 90-day no compete, so you can't sign anywhere.
I like the no compete thing.
And then Wardlow's got to, Steve Austin his way around beating up MJF.
That'd be good too. I would love the non-compete, and then he shows up and wrestles at Supercard. Like, he's part of Ring of Honor now, and that would be kind of an interesting thing they could do. Because it's technically not AEW.
That is true.
Daniel R says this seems simple. If Scorpio doesn't win last week, then Wardlow can beat Sammy. Then MJF takes it, but it gets vacated by Tony Khan because you're not going to do that to the TNT title. And then Scorpio Sky can win it and have his reign. And maybe MJF might lose it to Scorpio, do it to a Warlord distraction. Yeah, there's a lot of other things. I thought this just felt just very WWE booking to me, which of course we all know I hate. So that's probably why I don't like that with my AEW. Reese Power has a point. He wants an Ethan Page face turn. He's too good to be playing second fiddle to Sky Scorpio and doesn't need Lambert as a mouthpiece. Also, more Wheeler Yuta. Ethan Page wasn't out there tonight. And somebody tweeted at him, "Why weren't you out there?" And he said, "Well, I got wind we were going to be working with MJF tonight, so I took the night off." I thought that was a cute reaction.
That's good.
Yeah, he wasn't out there, so that was interesting. We got the Hardy Boys having their first tag match in AEW together, just like old times. And they faced Private Party, who I thought was going to be like maybe not the final boss, but somewhere down the line, because Private Party basically only exists because both guys like became best friends because they both grew up idolizing the Hardy Boys. So I feel like maybe you could tell that story. But anyway, this was a really great match. There's a lot of fun. It's like it's really cool to see them back together again. Matt wearing the two tight shirts and the cargo pants and everything. It's just like 1999 all over again.
Matt wearing the really Hardy Boys look, but Jeff is going like full Impact World Champion, where he's got the too tight shirt in his own way and the face paint. It was very mishmash, but it works for them because as much as we joke about erratic behavior, Jeff Hardy's one of the only people who can legitimately dance on the way to saving his brother, and you just go, "That's Jeff. That's who he is." This was good. I also think they should have waited, but I'm not going to complain with a good match. And you get the Hardys playing the hits. Poetry in Motion. They did the tumbleweed fist drop thing. Twisted Fate into a swanton. They're playing the hits. It was fun. Jeff Hardy will never not be over.
No, never. He could, like, honestly, I was about to say he could do this until he's 70, but I don't think he could. I think his body will turn to dust long before then. But I'm saying he will be over until his dying day. Like, he's super over and will always be. Chris Rain says, "Man, it's so great to see the Hardys back together again in AEW ring." Can't say no to that. The whole match was basically just, when is Jeff going to hit the swanton? Because there was a lot of stuff. Like, he went up there, and instead of doing a swanton, he did a splash. And I was like, well, that was interesting. Why wouldn't you just do the move that you do? But it was because they wanted to draw it out, make sure that you were waiting for that thing with anticipation. And I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, the body splash was weird. I got really nervous for a second. Like, oh no, can he really not do the swanton on a regular basis? But yeah, again, they're playing the hits, and Jeff is so over. He could get out of this and go challenge Hangman, and people would be like, "Yep, Jeff is world champion level."
Yeah. Keith Below says, R.I.P. Isaiah Cassidy after that full landing swanton. That's the only way Jeff will take it now. He's going to give you all of his weight. Your own ribs be damned, because he's not taking that thing on the back of his neck. He just won't do it anymore. Sorry. That's just yeah.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He's earned the right to not, land on his neck.
So true. So true. Daniel R sends in a Humper Chat at humperchats.com. We're coming down to the final things to talk about tonight, so get those in while you can. Daniel R says, "Hi, what are your thoughts on the ranking system? I am not a fan. Private Party was number 3, and I haven't really seen them win. I don't really watch Dark or Elevation, but is it hard to have people ranked high when they are not winning on the 2 main shows?" Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially because the nature of victories on Dark and Elevation is usually kind of a squash matches kind of thing. So you're basically just padding the record. It's like when Alabama plays Jacksonville State or something, and it's like, well, that's a guaranteed victory, but we're going to move up in the standings. I don't love it, but I get it. Here's the one thing. I will look at something like Wardlow is ranked number 1 tonight, coming into the night. He had a record of 46-7. Now, I don't think I've seen even half of those matches, but that's a really impressive number for my lizard brain to be like, wow, 46-7 is a really good record.
The problem is you've seen more of the 7 than you have of the 46.
That is unfortunate. I think that they particularly with ROH coming around, maybe they'll be using it and it is more of a developmental type of stuff. Maybe there'll be more competitive things involved. Like maybe it's not you beat some team that we never heard of in 5 minutes. Maybe you beat another team in 11 minutes, and that actually means something. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan overall of the rankings, and I feel like even though they're cool in some ways, you don't really need them, because then you do things like unsanctioned matches just to save people when you don't need to do that.
Yeah. The unsanctioned match is also a crutch. Mike Proventure says, when he was 5, I let my son hit me with a coffin drop, and it hurt way more than I expected it to. I can't even imagine what Jeff Swanton feels like. Yeah, no, that is very true. By the way, speaking of Darby Allin, the entire Andrade family office, because no longer the Hardys involved, come down to the ring after Jeff and Hardy win, and they all encircle the ring. So, but Blade and the Butcher, Private Party, Andrade's there, the Bunny's there. They're all encircling the ring. Jose, because you can't forget about Jose.
Can't forget about Jose.
That guy is built, and he carries an iPad, and he's not afraid to use it. So they all surround the ring, and then we get Darby and Sting coming down as backup. So we're definitely getting that 8-man tag. A Butcher, Blade, Private Party versus those 4 guys. That'll be a lot of fun. But I love Andrade, man. I love the way he works in the ring, and I kind of just want him to like wrestle more often for titles and win those titles, as opposed to like being the guy in charge of a faction full of losers, which is what Matt Hardy was for so long.
Which I guess it plays into the Sionis kind of thing, where he's got his henchmen, and Batman is obviously going to run right through the henchmen. But yeah, I'm with you. I want to see Andrade do something more meaningful.
Mike McVaney here just mentions that he doesn't think 4 lights out matches is a crutch. I mean, they don't use it often enough for it to be a true crutch. I agree. I grant you. However, the most high profile lights out, it doesn't actually count matches were Britt Baker beating Thunder Rosa, and Britt Baker lost that match, but continued to move on upward toward her eventual title victory 2 months later. And Adam Cole lost to Orange Cassidy and had his title match versus Hangman a week later or a month later. You're able to say, well, this person didn't technically lose, so they can continue to move on upward the ranking and get title matches. I feel like that might not be the way you want to use lights out matches. Just my own personal viewpoint.
I think it's okay when like they did it with Kenny and it eventually came back around. They did it with Britt and it eventually came back around, as we'll talk. The Adam Cole one is the one where I feel like, okay, this just feels like a dangerous pattern to fall into. If they stop it there, then so be it. Then I won't have as much of a problem with it.
Reese Power, I see your super chat about the over nature of Jeff Hardy, and not going to read it though. But thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. For Rampage, we're getting Layla Hirsch versus Red Velvet, House of Black, Buddy and Brody and Malachi versus the dream team of Fuego del Sol and Bear Country. So that should be a really crazy fun match. We're also getting Keith Lee versus Max Caster and Darby versus the Butcher, which should be just Darby Allin bumping like crazy. For
God, Butch has to work a lot on Friday night, huh?
Yeah, he does. Too many Butch. Too much Butch.
Too much Butch on Friday night.
Guys, it's the end of an era. Britt Baker, no longer champion. Thunder Rosa, crowned in such a way that like it befit her. Like I know everybody who was very upset about her not winning at the pay-per-view, and I get that. I do not believe would have had the same feeling within her there as she did here tonight in San Antonio, her adopted hometown, in front of all of these people who love her so much on a personal level. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was a moment. Her winning tonight was an amazing moment. You can argue about how we got here, and I totally respect those points of view. I don't think anybody can argue what an amazing moment for her to win the match the way she did, to become champion where she did.
Yeah, I mean, these women are proving to be the rivalry in this company. Period. Male, female, whatever. They are proving that they are the story to tell. And yeah, I mean, it looked so obvious that Rosa was going to win. They gave her the mariachi entrance. They gave her the cage, all of it. But it didn't matter because it was such a great moment and the crowd was there for it. And she was so emotional that how could you not be?
Yeah.
This was perfect.
Absolutely. Jose Flores says, tonight, Thunder Rosa came out to her culture, wore her culture, and put that culture on her back. It was a beautiful moment. This Mexican woman is a megastar. I am so proud to have her like a champ. Representation matters. She's the first ever Mexican-born women's world champ on network television ever. And that matters to a whole host of little girls who sit and they watch with their dad and their brothers and their grandfathers, and they watch wrestling. The wrestling is such a huge part of Mexican culture, and they finally have their Mexican women's champion. These little girls have somebody to look up to. I think that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that overshadows everything. And even just hearing you say that, it seems like there's no way that can be true, but I'm sure it absolutely is because of how quickly we've had to play catch up in the world of wrestling.
Yeah. Dan Janoff says, saw videos in the crowd as she won. Goosebumps. So the cage comes down and the ring is smaller. The cage, there's actually room between the cage. It was not quite Hell in a Cell room between the cage and the ring, but there's definitely room there. They did some stuff on the outside, and there were a lot of weapons pulled out of the bottom.
A lot.
As a callback to their lights out match, where there were all kinds of weapons. There was blood in that match. There was blood in this match. There were a lot of callbacks to that match from a year ago, almost to the day. It was really great. The crowd was super into this match, as you would expect for a Thunder Rosa title match in a cage in her hometown. But I thought this was great because a lot of times the women put on some really great stuff and the crowd just isn't into it. But tonight they were into this, and with good cause. Like these two women work really well together, especially when you're allowed to, like, let's just go balls to the wall and hit each other with chairs and drop each other on thumbtacks and go crazy. And I thought this really, really worked.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
The thing is, now you need to tell the story for other women. Now other women need to
That is true.
come through the ranks because you've shown twice now what Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa can do when they have the spotlight. Now this next year needs to be about everyone else.
Yes. Pile driver finisher, Thunder Rosa, and new AEW Women's World Champion. We got a ref bump. Britt Baker missed a super kick to Rosa and hit Paul Turner square in the mush, and he rolled out of the ring. He was done. Both women got visual victories while the ref was out. And then Britt, after that, calls, "Get another ref out here!" and out sprints Aubrey to come out and count a pinfall. 1-2, no, that was a near fall. That was after the air raid crash onto a pile, a second rope air raid crash onto a pile of chairs. That was a near fall. And then there was thumbtacks that got brought out. At one point, Britt put Rosa in the lockjaw, and Rosa bit her hand. So she switched around to the other side and was trying to do a lockjaw from the other side, but Rosa grabbed her hand and smashed it palm down into the pile of thumbtacks, which that made me cringe at home.
I was actually really worried that like maybe something would fly into Aubrey's face. Or just like it was a scary spot.
Then Aubrey comes around and has to count a pinfall with her own hand into the thumbtacks, which was just crazy. Because like we got hold on, I wrote this thing. Props to Aubrey slamming her hand into the tacks from Tom LaValle. Absolutely, that was crazy. I love that. There was a spot that Britt took off the top rope where she fell onto a stacked pile of chairs. That did not look very forgiving at all. Eventually, we got an amazing looking power bomb from Thunder Rosa to Britt Baker, where she kneeled to get an extra oomph to it. That was really cool. That was also under the thumbtacks. And then, for good measure, she hit the Thunder Driver onto the thumbtacks.
And by the way, after the power bomb, they roll out of the ring and Britt gets a chair shot protected, but still a chair shot to the head of Thunder. Like they did more than they would ever have to. And
oh my goodness.
we make the joke, but Britt Baker's got to get up and be a dentist tomorrow morning. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to get up and even do this job. And all I got to do is sit in the chair. You know, like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are professional wrestling, and this is a damn good match.
Yeah, we got a lot of humper chats, super chats about this. Zero Fear 94 is a 3-month member of the Fightful YouTube. Thank you so much. Says the ring was smaller tonight to fit the cage. It was. I think it was a little smaller. It was like a 16 by 16, not an 18 by 18. But that was really cool. Reese Power says that cage looked more like a heck in the sec. Quite a hell of a cell. Duking Latina says just left the Coliseum, and man, what a show. I got floor seats for next week, and I can't wait. That Thunder Rosa match was epic. Yeah, they're in Texas a lot over the next couple of months. So if you're in Texas and you want to see an AEW show, you do not have too far to drive. We got so we got Pile Driver Finisher says Thunder Rosa. I got that one already. Thank you. Chris Rain says that chair spot that Britt took off the top. Ouch! Thunder and Britt did it again. They really did.
Yeah.
I do think it was possible to figure out a different match to do at the pay-per-view, maybe a tag match or something where the winning team, either Brits or Thunder Rosa, could pick
Gets to choose the step or something. Yeah, like
and then you were always going to do this match on St. Patrick's Day Slam, because it is a 1-year anniversary of this. Like, you could have said ahead of time, we're doing this match on the 1-year anniversary of the match of the year, and this match, this tag match at the pay-per-view, is to who gets to pick the stick. Then you have Thunder Rosa's team win. She picks a cage match, and then you didn't have to have Thunder Rosa lose at the pay-per-view and then win here tonight. Maybe you could have done that, but I think that it doesn't really matter, because what matters is Thunder Rosa wins, and she's immediately in tears. Like, she is crying real tears, the real emotion. And then, if you thought she was crying before, Dustin Rhodes comes out, who's worked so much with her and the rest of the women, and she sees him and she just breaks down sobbing. Like, it was a really amazing moment for everybody involved. Ricardo says, watching Rosa cry made me tear up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wrestling is good when it tugs at the heartstrings, and this definitely did. And it was a 5-star finish, celebration, cool moment for her, just all the way through. The entrance, the match, Dustin at the end. Perfect moment for Thunder Rosa.
JB Love says, Viva la Mera Mera. Pow Driver Finisher says, I got flashbacks from last year. Yeah. Sky Singe says, I love the fact at the end the Arbery was there. That was a really cool touch to figure out a way to get her involved too, because that was a really big moment for everybody involved. Let's see here. Corey M says, huge career-making night for Rosa. Remember when the other place wanted her to be a referee? SMH. Yes, if you did not know, WWE was like, you're pretty good, kid. Want to be a referee? So that was the thing.
Unreal.
Yeah, unreal. She's an absolute megastar. Like, regardless of her ethnicity or whether or not you feel represented by her, regardless of what, she comes out to this awesome all-female mariachi band, which was really cool. And she came out wearing the sombrero and the full face paint, not the half face paint. Like, she looked amazing, draped herself in the flag. It was an amazing moment for her.
She had both flags. She had the Texas flag and the Mexican flag.
Yes.
Really cool moment for her.
Yeah. So we get Sawyer saying that the last couple of weeks, the story was super clunky, but this moment was worth the delay. Shout out to the best ref bump in recent memory. Rosa rules. That entrance, that crowd was with her so much. It was just really beautiful. Jose Flores says, with Thunder Rosa's win tonight, it has really highlighted how much AEW has treated its Latino stars like that, not like these weird cartoons with funny masks like the other major company has done.
I mean, yeah. And that's like, it's so important that even Andrade, like, as simple as giving him subtitles, at least you're letting him speak, you know, it works.
Yes. Yeah. Brett Lockman says Rosa and Britt have such violent chemistry. It's fantastic. They bring out the best and worst of each other. That's a very good way of putting it.
One day they're going to team out of respect. And in that moment, it's going to be such a pop.
You could absolutely interest me in a 2-woman power trip type of deal for them. We're like, we're just going to take over this whole place, you and me. There's nobody who can touch either of us. Why don't we join forces? There's a way of doing that could be very interesting. Shotki29 says that cage match put Britt and Rosa in the spotlight, and they deliver. It gives me Rock and Austin vibes. That was Dynamite, and that was entertainment. Daniel R says Britt's glove thing is weird. Takes too much time. Yeah, usually it's done in a way that's more of a showy thing. This time it had to actually happen as a really fast thing, which kind of maybe took a little bit out of it. We're in the middle of a pandemic still. Don't be putting your damn fingers in someone's mouth. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Just on a general level. Mike Proventure says that women's title match is all-time top 5 for me. It was pretty great. It was a very, very, very good match. Aaron Maffey says, Eric Maffey, sorry. My daughter and I got to meet Thunder Rosa last Saturday at Wario 20. She was so sweet and welcoming to her. Seeing the joy and excitement on my daughter's face as she watched her hero win the title tonight was special. Thank you, Rosa, for everything. Well deserved. I mean, listen, like she is magnetic. Like we watch her, she's just, there's a way that she draws people to her. She's got an amazing charisma in the ring. You want to watch her perform.
And at the end of the day, it's about stories like that.
Mhm.
You know, like that's what wrestling is. It's entertaining people. It's making kids believe. That's what it is.
Michael Venture clarifying, he meant the title belt, which is very true. Man, that's higher than top 5 for me. That might be the nicest women's belt I've ever seen. As far as top 5 entirely all time, you're definitely in there for me. Like that's very true. Brendan Tungate saying, as an expat from San Antonio, the main event made me so happy. I legit teared up at Rosa's mariachi entrance. Congrats to the new champion. Let's see. Now we're getting into some other things people have ideas about. The Nerd Guru says, the reign of terror is over. I'm begging them to make stories for the women's title so we aren't waiting a year for the obvious person. Love this for Rosa. There was a danger, I thought, and I think I may have said this at the time, when Britt became champion at Double or Nothing last year. Everyone kind of knows like that was magic that happened March 17th or whatever it was between Thunder Rosa and Britt. And Thunder Rosa won that match. We all saw it. So I think we all know that Thunder Rosa is the next champ, but you just finally put over Britt. And by the way, you cannot deny at the time Britt was super over and everybody wanted her to be champ. Almost everybody was like, it's Britt's time. Now, 10 months later, I feel like people are like, yeah, well, that was definitely too long of a reign. But I don't know where the moment was. I think it might have been around her beating Ruby Riott at All Out, where people were like, well, now what? What are we doing now? Like, hey, Thunder Rosa, bring her out. Let's do that now. People started to get kind of tired of the whole Britt thing because it seemed to be the same deal over and over again. But I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot by having the obvious next champion on the roster and trying to figure out a way to keep her away from the title so you could give a decent run to the new champion. And that was kind of tough.
I think all wrestling promotions, but specifically AEW, because they're younger and they can fix this quicker, they need to embrace shorter reigns. Because if you know where you're going, then we don't need 10 months. You know, we don't need Challenger of the Month while there's an entire roster of women chomping at the bit to be stars. You know, get to Rosa quicker. Granted, you had to do it here because it's Texas and it's St. Patrick's Day, but don't do this again. Make this title reign about opportunities.
Right.
You know, give a shot to Ruby, give a shot to Penelope.
Yeah.
You know, let's see what she can do. Let's see what, you know, Mercedes Martinez has in her. Let's see who they can bring in. Let's see, you know, Trisha Dora. She's not with Ring of Honor anymore.
Yep.
You know, let's see what you got.
The Nerd Guru says, I'm happy where we ended, but Britt's reign accomplished nothing really because it was essentially telegraphed from the beginning, like as where the next one was going to go. And I think that there's ways of getting around that, but it was difficult for them at times. And we got some people here who are showing some props to Britt as well. Michael Plowman says, so happy for Rosa. Hope AEW can build Sheeta Deeb to a similar blow off, and all props to Britt for her work this past year. Zero Fear 94 says, congrats Thunder Rosa, but Britt was one of AEW's best women's world champions. Let's not downplay that. I think people grew tired of her, but you cannot argue how over she was at the beginning with almost the entire crowd.
Yeah, Britt Baker, and bear with me here, she's CM Punk in the 2011 reign, the 434 reign, where by the end of it, people were like, yeah, Punk didn't do anything with the belt. But when you look at it, really, you couldn't not give it to this person. Baker was so over. Baker was the face of the division. Did it linger too long? Absolutely. But that shouldn't take away from what she accomplished.
Right. Bad One Jam Beard says, I didn't really have a problem with Britt's reign being so long. The thing that made me want it to end earlier was all the bad distraction finishes. Well, the fact that there were so many bad distraction finishes over and over again is what made the reign so long. Like, if
and made the cage match worth it.
That is
it
awesome.
all plays into the story. It just feels like it was too long to watch.
Yeah. Pablo says AEW got criticism for Baker's reign, never having a real babyface threat until Rosa. With Rosa as champ now, the only heel challengers they have put over as a real threat are Nyla, Deeb, and Jade. A repeat, or do you think there is more this time? Brendan Tungate says, I think Jade will eventually dethrone Rosa. She was one of 4 women who got the spotlight during the Lights Out match. But Rosa's going to have a cool reign, I think. She's spoken about being a traveling champ. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think you might be able to turn. I think maybe this whole thing with Statlander is part of a heel turn for her. That might be something that you might end up doing as well.
I think you could. There's also, who knows? Maybe they see something in a Sky Blue or the woman that was, the valet for Janela. Now that he's not going to be around,
right.
Maybe she needs something to do. And then there's you still got Deonna. And I will never not say that Deonna Purrazzo is the best women's wrestler going today outside of WWE.
Yeah.
She's around. You've got so many women that can potentially step up. It's going to be a fun reign for her.
Yeah. Dan Janoff says, such a fun night of wrestling. The crowd was on fire. Lots of teases. And most importantly, Thunder Rosa, La Mera Mera, is your new women's champion. Aaron World Order says, damn, what an awesome main event tonight. And is again, first ever Mexican-born women's world champion. Christian Ramos says, Bailey, Melina, and the Bellas are U.S. born. So Thunder Rosa was able to do it herself. That was kind of awesome. Eloquent says, hope they split Jamie Hayter from Britt now. I could easily see that being the next thing for Britt, is her and Jamie Hayter having a split and going on to do something else.
It's too similar to the Wardlow thing for me. I'd like them to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But it does seem like now that she's not champion, where else do you go?
Yeah. Reese Power saying Jade will drop to Athena, and then Jade will go after Thunder Rosa. I mean, I don't know how fast that might happen, but I think that might be your eventual. Your next champ for the TBS belt might be Athena, and your next champ for the AEW belt will be Jade. But I just don't think I don't know how far that might be out until we get there. All right, guys, we're heading down the home stretch. We're gonna do all these super and humper chats to get you guys out of here. Thanks so much for all your donations. It's kind of amazing. Oh, this is very true. The Bad One Jam Beard also shout out to Britt's NWO themed gear. Scott Hall.
For Britt.
Very Scott Hall. That was really cool. Brett Lockman says JR started the show with Hey Yo. That was a nice touch as well. Jarlo says that Wardlow is going to need a manager that can talk for him because he is going to get slaughtered by MJF in the mic game.
Or maybe he won't. You gotta let him fly first.
You gotta let him fly first, and also I think he might not even have to say much of anything. I mean, if it's just MJF cutting promos on him while Wardlow's not there, fine. But they're not going to have a big face-to-face. If Wardlow's in the same ring with MJF, Wardlow's going to murder him. So you don't have to have that promo battle. Brendan Tungate says Thunder Rosa versus Deonna Purrazzo at Supercard in a title-for-title match. Okay.
I mean, that's the kind of thing. I'm not going to say no to that. I'm not going to say no to either woman winning that. That's the kind of wrestling I want to see.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, hey, well, the bad one has a terrible suggestion. I mean, it's a good suggestion, but also a terrible suggestion for us. If there's going to have to be a female in Yas, the new Yas queen should be Eva Marie. Because it's sports entertainment, buddy.
You're on to something. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Reese Power says, I love Danhausen, but Yuta needs to kick his ass to show that he's over the hokey stuff. And eventually that'll lead to Yuta versus Trent is the I'm fully leaving the best friends match. And that match will slap, says Reese Power. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know about beating up Danhausen. I don't know if he's physically ready for that. But
maybe not. Maybe this story lasts longer than we think it will. The bad one says that Regal, if he ever wanted to, he'd make for a damn perfect Alfred to a new Batman, because we all know we're eventually going to get another Batman actor. So I honestly, sure.
You know what?
Cast the new one and have Regal play Alfred. I'm into it.
I would absolutely enjoy William Regal playing Alfred. I think he would do such wonders for that role.
Chris Raines talking about Athena says, I finally got to see Alina live for the first time this past Saturday at Warrior Wrestling in Indy. She is decided, I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to do some indie stuff, and I'm going to show everybody what they wouldn't let me do when I was under contract at the other place, because she has been killing it. We got a control your narrative joke from Johan Benson. Another great Dynamite, but I don't know why it had any matches. The greatest fight is with yourself. You are in control.
You are. And that is number 1 and number 2. In case you're not sure.
Yeah, the second time
you
it's
are
in all
in control.
caps with an exclamation point.
Also, no super kicks.
Alan Kahn says, Starks and Hobbs think they run Rampage, but they totally forgot about the actual guy who runs Fridays, Hook. Now that is an interesting wrinkle to that eventual storyline. I'm into that, because that would be really cool, because Hook's
only fought on Fridays.
He's the guy who's going to take that FTW belt off Ricky Starks. I'm sure of it. And then Sawyer says, wait until Regal sets his eyes on Hook. I say. That's some good stuff. Pablo says Starks made headlines saying he would love Heyman to get his hands on him. Do you think this is criticism of creative support in AEW or his own shortcomings? Feel like his addition to the Rampage desk because they see star power but are waiting for action.
No, I feel like this is Starks is doing what MJF is doing, where you can get some intrigue. You know you're going to get some play on websites like ours, where you're going to go, well, that's a headline. Starks wants to work with Heyman. And then it's Starks is a young guy. He's grew up in an era of ECW. He knows what Heyman can do. Why wouldn't you at least say, hey, I'd like to work with Paul Heyman?
Yeah. Sure, why not? Why wouldn't anybody want to work with Paul Heyman? He's got a credible mind for the business. Josh Weaver says that somebody should probably tell NXT 2.0 that Hump Day isn't on Tuesday, because everybody likes to hump each other on NXT 2.0, Robert. I don't know if you watch. Why would you? But everybody is horny on that damn show.
Yeah, what is going on Tuesday nights? I think those colorful lights have just set everybody way overboard. You got Persia and Indy just tearing people's clothes off. What's going on Tuesday nights, Alex?
I don't know. John McPherson says that the AEW takeover should be called, instead of Stand and Deliver, should be Scooch and Defelice. It's a premium live event. Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's good. JWR says, hey, Alex, love you. Watching you lead this, and a big fan of you and Kate on Tuesday. Thank you so much. Can you please say, as Sheila, that's not me, though. That's Kate. I am Laura. I'm sorry. I am Linda.
You're Linda, aren't you? Not?
I am Linda. Can you please say, as Linda, War Games? And then he says he got it right this time on the chat. No, you didn't. I'm Linda. War Games, of course. That's what we say. We say War Games, right? There we go. And finally, we get Mike Preventure says, I want Orange Cassidy to be FTW champion because Taz would loathe it, and I want Hook to feud with him over it. Now that might be interesting.
I think the funniest thing that Taz does on commentary, by the way, I never mentioned this. I hate this guy. He stole my gimmick. What? Orange. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. And to close us out, an amazing, wonderful, generous donation by Poker God 992, who says, I look forward to watching you guys cover AEW every week. Love your insight and breakdown of every match. Keep up the good work. Well, we will. And next week, you'll have Sean Ross Sapp on here, who will certainly take a hold of the reins and keep us under an hour and 50 minutes. But you guys kept giving us super chats the whole way through. We got this last amazing donation in the last 2 minutes. So we're making money because you guys keep sending it in. We'll love it because we are totally, absolutely, fully public funded. All these donations, that's how everybody here at Fightful gets paid. We love you guys for hanging out with us, for sending in the donations. Go to FightfulSelect.com. Sean has he's got half his face has been just torn apart because of his trip to the dentist, I'm sure, but he's still out there giving you scoops all the time. I do a podcast on Fightful Select where I review Raw and SmackDown every week. Also on Tuesday nights, do a thing with Kate where we talk about NXT 2.0 Divas, where everybody's horny. And you can follow me on the Twitter at Alex Sourgraps. Where can people find you, Robert?
You can find me, first of all, every day here at Fightful.com, helping Jeremy and the awesome team write up all the news. And then you can find me everywhere on social media at Defelice. You see it down below. Thank you guys. Sean Ross Sapp will be back here next week for all your scoops and all your other needs. But until then, I guess we'll see you next time.
I like the steak soft taco.